12th seed last year. The New York Knicks finished 21-45. They were better with Mike Miller than David Fizdale. And for me, the storyline of the season is tank for Cade. And Knick fans, before you dislike the video and ratio it out, hear me out. Last season, we had no shooters in the starting lineup. This season, we still have no shooters. We brought in Alec Burks, who's a good shooter, but outside of that, the starting lineup is probably going to be Elfrid Payne, RJ, Alec Burks, Julius Randle, and Nerlens Noel. Those are four guys that cannot shoot, and there have been rumors out of New York that the franchise doesn't like Mitchell Robinson's professionalism that much. So they're probably going to start Nerlens Noel because he's a Kentucky guy. There's ties there. And then you look at the bench. You look at the bench, Ntilikina, Austin Rivers, Kevin Knox, Obi Toppin, Mitchell, Dennis Smith Jr., quickly Miles Powell. The Knicks have a problem. That problem is that their problem is that what player that sucks the most are we going to not play? Which player that sucks are we going to play? Because these guys are so equivalent, like DSJ and Frank Ntilikina. Does any of them really give you an edge? Ntilikina gives you it on defense. Smith gives you it on offense. We know Austin Rivers is going to play. Kevin Knox maybe will play. Obi Toppin will play for sure. Mitchell too. But will Emmanuel quickly get a chance to play? There's so many guards on his team. DSJ, Frank, and Peyton. Miles Powell, I don't even know if he's going to play. I'm hoping he does. But we brought back Elfrid, signed Noel, Alec Burks, Austin Rivers, traded for Spellman, Jacob Evans, and signed Kid Gilchrist. But we lost Bobby Portis, Mo Harkless, Kadeem Allen, Damian Dotson, who I loved, Taj Gibson, and Wayne Ellington. We pretty much got the same back that we lost. And I know Knicks fans are excited for the season because Tom Thibodeau's our coach. And though I do think he'll instill toughness, I just don't think that the Knicks season is going to go well. I think we have the worst starting lineup in the NBA. You look at OKC, Shea, George Hill, Al Horford,
Lugan Dortz.
But those three guys in Shea, George Hill, and Al Horford are better than our three guys in who? RJ, Randall, and Alec Burks, and then Cleveland, who were the 15th seed last year in the East, Garland, Sexton, Okoro, Kevin Love, Andre Drummond. Their five is better than our starting five. I just think that for the Knicks to not be the worst team in the East, a lot has to go right. And can that happen? Yes. But I just don't see it. And I just think that this draft, there's a lot of superstars in it. Of course, I'm hoping that I get Cade. Worst case scenario, I'm hoping that we get Jalen Suggs, who I love, or maybe a Jalen Green, and then slide RJ to the 3. But the Knicks are not in the position to compete. We have to keep getting younger talent and building through the draft. And I just don't know how the season is going to go. I think we're going to be pretty bad. But I'm not even optimistic about this season. Of course I'll watch, but it's going to be really frustrating. That's just all I can say for now.
Well, mine's is pretty brief because there's really nothing to talk about. You guys had a pretty silent off season, but what you did was you didn't spend money where it didn't need to be. And that was the plus, that you showed the growth and maturity of your front office, where you didn't go, all right, he's just good, we're just going to throw him money, or we're just going to throw him money. No, you made the necessary deals to fill out your roster, but still kept it 1-year deals or player team options, so where you can get them off the books next year for free agency. So I like that direction. And your draft wasn't bad. Your draft was good. Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly. Those are two guys. Obi Toppin's a good player. And Emmanuel Quickly, he's a guy who you can get him in there. He can score. Miles Powell, if you get him some rotation, man, he can be a 6-man spark. So it's going to be interesting. RJ Barrett, and like I say for the Knicks, RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson's growth is key for this franchise for trade purposes or winning purposes. Those two are the keys. And I think with Tom Thibodeau, those two guys, I feel like are going to benefit the most, especially RJ Barrett, because he's such a hard worker. He's such a hard-nosed guy. He's going to work hard every day, every night, all day. So I think that's definitely going to benefit them. I got you guys finishing between 13 and 15 in the league. I think you're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. But I do think this is going to help you guys in the long run in getting a pick. But I do think you guys are going to be pretty bad.
Yeah. For my take on the Knicks, I don't necessarily see them as a totally tier 4 team in the Eastern Conference, as crazy as it may sound. I honestly think they're closer to tier 3 than tier 4. I loved a lot of what the Knicks did this offseason, but then there were moves that I just hated that make me like so tentative to give any take on the Knicks, because I really like the Tom Thibodeau move. The more I thought about it, a defensive minded head coach coming in with the team that the young talent, I should say, that you have was a good fit. I love the fact that you got Obi Toppin where you got him in the draft. I thought the draft was a big W for you guys. Leon Rose, I think, has done a nice job since coming in as an executive and, using his Kentucky strings to pull some guys into New York. And they started to build things the right way. But I agree with you. You look at the starting lineup, and this is not what they should be running out. Like, I see no reason for, like, especially Julius Randle. I would have traded Julius Randle for a bag of basketballs this offseason. I would have done anything to
I
get
think
him
he should
off the
come off the
books.
bench.
Anything to get him out of that starting lineup. He should not be blocking Obi Toppin to start the year, especially after what we've seen from him in the preseason so far. He looked like a really good spark for that team. After a horrible first jump shot attempt, he started to settle in. But I really do think that Obi Toppin is going to be a great pick for you guys, especially learning under Tom Thibodeau. But like, I would much rather see the young talent playing. I want to see RJ Barrett getting all the shots. I want to see even like, I know so many people are low on them, but Frank Ntilikina, Kevin Knox, see what you have. Right
Oh,
now,
no.
they're just
No.
they're buried at the end of the bench. And what is that doing for you? Like, are you trying to compete with a lineup of Elfrid Payton, Alec Burks, RJ, Julius Randle, Nerlens Noel? You can't tell me you're trying to compete. So why not put the young talent that you drafted out there and let them sink or swim, and at least you know what you have, and you don't have to be second guessing, does Kevin Knox have some potential left in the tank? Do I think they do? Not necessarily, but at least you could figure that out and move forward. And like Joel said, you let a lot of those weird contracts go, which I thought was a very smart move, but then you brought in and retain some weird contracts that I just don't see helping you moving forward. So I think the Knicks are very slowly headed in the right direction, and it will take some time to right this ship. But if there was any time to be in that situation, right now is the perfect time, because I have the Knicks finishing at 13. I could see them maybe getting as high as 11, but I could see them finishing at 15 potentially, depending on what lineups they throw out there, how Thibodeau meshes early on, if they make any moves with the starting lineup. But look at what is in this draft. If there's any time to be bad, it's right now. And you're going to put yourself in a spot in the lottery where you legitimately have a shot at the number 1 pick and Cade Cunningham, who is everything he's been hyped up to be at the college level. So, as bad as it might seem, I don't think the Knicks are in as horrible of a position as you might think, Joel. Definitely not as bad, in my opinion, as the next 2 teams we'll talk about. Well,
look, I
2
think
of the next 3 teams we'll talk about, I should say.
Jesus
I
Christ.
think that the only reason why they're not in a bad position is because they didn't go out and try to sign a guy like Gordon Hayward for max money. So they still have cap flexibility, which is good. So I think their offseason was okay, but they didn't get better from last year, in my opinion, outside of just bringing Tom Thibodeau and RJ Barrett coming into his second year. In my opinion, I think they'll finish with the 15 seed. I can see them as high as 13, low as 14 and 15, as I mentioned, but I think they'll finish with the 15 seed in the Eastern Conference. They'll be the worst one in the East.
Like I said, I have them at 13, but I will say, to your point, that's growth out of them, not throwing money at Gordon Hayward. That's not a wise decision. And I think the fact that they made smarter decisions this offseason signifies that they are headed in a better direction front office wise, at least as good of a direction as you can head in with James Dolan at the helm all the way up top. So, I would be more optimistic than pessimistic on what occurred this offseason.